I'd like to call the Saline City Council meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have some things to add under discussion. We have the Weber Bless Ice Cream Social on August 21st, and we also have an email from Jeff Fordyce regarding herbicide treatments and impacting trees. Is there any other discussion items? If not, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Move to approve as amended.
Second.
Move Marl, second Tahar. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a Michigan Main Street update from Cindy Zuko. And also, we have a flyer on our counter, thank you, and a memo with all the activities.
Yeah, I won't read the whole memo. I'll let you. You can email me if you have questions. But we did want to come back and give you a brief update every once in a while so you know what our activities are and what we've been working on. The whole group really is focusing on this application process. The application comes out October 1st, and is due in December. I think it's December 1st. But during this time, we have a lot of work to do, and that is really educating the community about the Main Street program and why we're applying to become a select level, and also trying to get letters of support for the program and pledges, because we have to show a 5-year commitment fund-wise for the program, because they're showing a 5-year commitment of training over that time. So as you know, we are formed. We're officially the Saline Historic Downtown Alliance, hopefully to become the Saline Main Street program. And we held all those organizational meetings. Our very last task in that group is to apply for the tax exempt, and we're in the process of doing that. And hopefully within a couple of weeks, that's our goal. We have a speakers group that we've been going out around the community and talking to. We've spoken at Rotary Club, the Economic Development Council, the city, of course, Saline Youth Council, Saline School Board, CQC, Kiwanis Club, the SDMA, Saline Area Chamber board members, the Historical Society. Last week we were at both the Lodi Township and York Township, and they were both on the same night, and we had really nice response from them. In fact, coming out of the parking lot, we had people pledging, so that was very exciting. And we held a business and property owners open house June 22nd to try to give a chance for the business owners and property owners downtown within the district to listen to the presentation and ask questions and give them an opportunity. So really we're focusing on raising that level of awareness and educating the public in any way we can. We have another whole laundry list of organizations and festivals that we need to attend from this point through October, beginning of November. So that will be continual. We are also making appearances at different events like Farmers Market. We've been there. At Summer Music Series, you can find us there, where we have T-shirts that the Saline High School helped make. We also have magnets, and we're taking sign-ups. So that's an effort to keep the public informed, because we created a website and a blog site, which we're continually updating and featuring. This week we featured Wayne Clements, and he talked about the history of downtown and what it meant to him. So if you missed that, please go to downtownsaline.org and see that. So as we collect email addresses, and I think we've had 40 to 50 so far, we keep adding and building from members of the community to try to keep them up to date and see what's going on, how we're creating that awareness. We have the other things that we're working on is a business and building inventory. That's a requirement of the Michigan Main Street Center in this application. They want to make sure that we are listing every single business in every single building, and that they fit within that criteria of what National Main Street really means. We also have, in August, there is another free training for us. It's in Old Town Lansing on August 16th, Anyone is welcome to go with us. Old Town Lansing actually just became one of the great American main streets in the whole country. They were awarded at the National Main Street Conference. By the way, Karen Ragland, who is the treasurer of our Saline Historic Downtown Alliance, is also in the audience. And we have a couple other board members too. Well, committee members, Brian and David. Let's see if anybody else is here. No. So the training is available to anyone, and we're hoping to take a nice, good group because they really like to see representation and interest from the community, and that's one opportunity to do that. Another opportunity is we're going to, on our own, go up and visit Hart, Michigan. They're in the Main Street program for the first time this year, so they're new Main Street select level community, and they're doing great things there. The program's really working well for them, and Michigan Main Street talks about them quite a bit because they're a tiny little town, but they garnered some incredible support. So we're going to go and talk to them and find out how they did it so that we can learn from that as we go on. So we are inundated with responsibilities and activities for the next few months, and summer's a little bit hard, but in your memo you'll see that there's other things. We're going to really ramp this up in September and October when school is back in session. Our real push for fundraising will be in the month of October, but however, we will take pledges as we go along. We've created a brochure, and I think you have a copy of it, and we're trying to get that out into the community too, and there's different places downtown that it can be obtained as well. I think I covered most of it. Do you have any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Looks like no. Thank you for your presentation
Thank you.
and all your hard work. Thanks for all the work you're doing on that, the whole committee. Do we have any citizen comments on agenda items? Under the Open Meetings Act, any citizen may come forward at this time and make comment or questions on items that appear on this agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone who would like to speak is requested but not required to state his or her name and address for the record.
Hello, Mary Hess, regarding the minutes of last week and the dispatchers. The police chief and others have said that notices have been sent to our dispatchers that they can start looking for a new job in the next year. With that type of, that kind of makes it serious as far as what position they're in. I'm hoping that the mayor and council will have one of the public forums in the next 30 days. Main Street is very important, but our Saline dispatchers are very, very important. And if our present Saline dispatchers get new jobs, then of course come November, after the election, we go, oh gee, well we don't have our good dispatchers. So that's my feeling. I feel it's very important, and hopefully the council would have their public forum in the next 30 days. At least then the dispatchers know that it's not going on the rug, under the rug. We could have some idea as citizens what is being proposed, and also questions. I mean, like a storm today, if we had an evacuation notice, I know that Chief Button had said people can come up here. We weren't going to advertise it, but they can come up from the mobile home park because they have no place to go. This would be also one of the questions, among many, many questions that I'm sure the taxpayers have on their concern of this going out of our city. So if you would please schedule one for the taxpayers and concerned citizens, it would be really appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further citizen comments? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The following consent agenda will normally be adopted without discussion over at the request of any citizen or council member. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda for council discussion.
Move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Boomerall, second Gearba. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On public hearing, item 11108, this is the application of Your Bobbers Down Incorporated and Storage Pro Saline LLC for our special land use approval from section 4.0415B.11 of the zoning ordinance to use the property at 1400 East Michigan Avenue for wholesale packaging and retail sale of fishing tackle in an I-2 industrial district. We need a motion to acknowledge receipt of the July 14, 2011 memo from the Saline City Planning Commission and the June 16, 2011 memo from Gary Rural Planning Commission Liaison.
So moved.
Second. Rhodes, second Terhar. I will be abstaining on this, all activity related to this motion due to a conflict. Is there discussion on the motion to acknowledge receipt? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and I abstain. We need comments or from the applicant and/or the owner.
Thank you.
We want to come up and talk about your project?
So I'm Jamie Olson. My company is Your Bobbers Down. We've been doing online and wholesale distribution of fishing tackle for about the last 10 years. We came from Maryland about 6 years ago, moved into the Saline area, and the ice fishing has been really good up here. We are a niche market manufacturer, packager for ice fishing tackle. We sell to Bass Pro, Cabela's, Gander Mountain, Shields All Sports, a lot of the big box stores, and somewhere around 180 to 200 independent stores across the North America and including Canada. And so our business has been growing. I was actually part of my day job. I worked for Handy Lab, which you might know is the spin-off company from U of M. And we were recently acquired by Beck & Dickinson. So my daytime job was director of materials for a medical device company, State Road. And we were just announced we're going to be closing this month. So within the next 2 weeks, I'll be full-time in my fishing business. So we were looking for a space. We looked at a lot of different spaces. And the one on Michigan Avenue fit both the budget and proximity, gave us an opportunity for drive-by. We get a lot of people always wanting to come in and see the product before they buy it. We've never had that availability to do that. So now we'll have another venue for them to come see more of the product firsthand. And we're pretty excited about the expansion. And we've brought on a couple different box stores this year. Bass Pro is new for us. So we're going to continue to look forward to growth, and hopefully we'll take over the other part of the suite and keep moving on with more business.
Is there any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Move Gearbox. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second Terhar. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone who'd like to speak to this issue? If not, we need a motion to close.
Move to close.
Second.
Tomorrow, second Gearbox. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The motion, meeting is now closed. Public comment, we have a motion to grant or deny the special land use approval of Your Bobbers Down Incorporated to use the property at 1400 East Michigan Avenue, Saline, for wholesale packaging and retail sale of fishing tackle in an I-2 industrial district based on the review and analysis made by staff as outlined in the June 16, 2011 memo from Gary Rural.
Move to grant.
Second.
Move Morales, second Rhodes to grant. Discussion. Mr. Gearbox.
I'm just concerned, I know we're granting another special use permit, but is there some way that we can look at addressing this as part of our a change or something that's permanent, instead of having to come forward as a special use every time for this type of situation, retail? Because if this was really a special use permit, this is the second one we've granted, I think, in the last year or so, or a couple of years, and wondering what's the difference between maybe putting something in the code versus actually just...
Well, this actually is the change. Before, when would not have been allowed at all. When the code was updated about, I think about 3 or 4 years ago, then we brought in retail uses as possible uses in an industrial zone rather than only commercial, and they could use up to 15% of the floor area. But rather than give it carte blanche for everybody without regulation, it was made as a special use, not a permitted use, so that the Planning Commission Council did have some authority and some decision-making as to what's appropriate use in the industrial park. So really, it's just as a safeguard.
Okay. And so there's
uses.
a limitation to the amount of percentage that you can just use as the 15%? at any time?
15% is what he's asking is the maximum.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Law.
Just that, I'll say what I said at the Planning Commission, is that I would like to have, while I'm glad to see the vacant space taken up, the downtown I'd like to see also utilized. I understand, Mr. Rubel, the situation, and even in the master plan where it is, we're being, hopefully promoting this kind of use, if at all possible, if it fits in with the scheme. But I certainly wish the applicant well, and I'm glad he's here in Saline. I'm glad his business is doing well. But if you ever don't need that and you want to come downtown, you know, and find the need to do it and run your whole business out of downtown out of a store, that'd be great. As much as I like the industrial area to also have no vacant space, my concern also goes with the downtown and other areas of the city, so.
Is there further discussion on this motion? If not, we have a motion to grant. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I abstain. Motion carries to grant. Under unfinished business, item 11109, AATA Transit Governance Plan. This is a motion to authorize or not authorize the mayor and city manager to negotiate the Act 7 agreement of the governance plan with AATA and other participating units.
Move to authorize.
Second.
Gearba, second Terhar. Discussion? Mr. Gearba.
I just hope this is a fruition that can come true, because I think this is one of the things that we need to have happen in the county area.
I'll pass that along to the AATA folks. We had a work session last week regarding this, so basically what we're talking about doing is moving forward. For those of you that weren't at the meeting or didn't see the meeting last week, we're looking at moving forward with AATA is looking at a countywide transit system, and in order to, first, the city of Saline to participate in the process of moving forward, we need to get involved in the governance process, which means we need to negotiate an Act 7 agreement with some of our surrounding government units to represent our region, our sub-region of the county. So this is basically just a resolution saying that we're going to be moving forward in that direction. Mr. Morrow.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I would enthusiastically echo the comments made by my colleague, Mr. Gearba. I think that a countywide public service or a public transportation service is really imperative and needed. I have one question, probably for City Manager Campbell. I'm a bit confused. This motion will authorize the mayor and city manager to negotiate the Act 7 agreement of governance between the city and AATA. What sort of time frame are we looking at? When do we suspect that something will come back for our approval? Hopefully our
In the next
approval.
in the next month or two. I actually talked with AAT today, and they're going to try to set up a meeting with the other. Basically, what we're trying to do is between the 3-4 entities, come up with a representative for our region.
Okay.
So we need to have a meeting of the minds of the 4 entities, and AATA's working on getting some dates to send out to because they've actually talked to all the other government units
Right.
except for the city.
Is my assumption correct that they wanted everything in place by January 2012?
Yeah, I think we're hoping by the fall to have a representative and move towards having an active board
Okay.
by the new year.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the governance plan for AATA? If not, we have a motion to authorize. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item under new business, item 111110, Saline Rec Center roof repair project. This is a motion to acknowledge receipt of the July 12, 2011 memo from City Manager Campbell to approve or not approve awarding the bid to Fiberglass Contracting in the amount not to exceed $20,680 for repairs to the rec center roof, and to authorize or not authorize the city manager to sign the proposal acceptance. Do you have a motion?
I'd move to approve and authorize.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved Rhodes, second Terhar, to approve and authorize. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick synopsis of the history. As City Council is aware, August of last year, we found out that we were having a failing roof, specifically over the pool area at our rec center. So that was, we were pretty alarmed seeing how the roof was about 4 years old or so from the 2006-2007 project. And what we found was moisture, and without getting too far ahead of myself, of course, Carl is here, Parks and Rec Director, and Paul Thoreau is over here from Plant Moran Cressa, who is also our construction manager on the project. Plant Moran Cressa has stepped up, and they're helping us through the process at no cost, so we're very thankful for that. We certainly wouldn't be where we're at without that help. So they're helping us along the way. We had to obviously evaluate the problem, which using RTA Roofing Technology Associates, the same folks that they helped us in pre-planning for the rec center project, as well as they also helped us evaluate the DPW roof. We also brought part of the former design team. Campbell Mannix was the design. It was a design build project, so they were the designers. But now Campbell Mannix is no longer. Now it's Kirko Mannix. Thank you, Kirko Mannix. But they've stepped up, said, "Well, we'll help as much as we can." But the company that was involved, not around anymore, legally or technically. Also, Royal West Roofing. They're the actual roofing company. They've stepped up and said they will repair the roof, the roof portion, except for this piece that we're talking about with the insulation, at no cost. So they want to make the customer happy, which we're very grateful for that. There is, as you can see in my memo, we have had some costs. One, we had to have RTA review the problem and tell us what the problem was. That was $4,500. Then RTA gave us a proposal for putting together specifications for how to fix and repair the roof. As you can see, that's $9,800. And then the other piece of it is to make sure and review the mechanical systems within the pool area of the rec center to make sure that they're working properly, because one of the issues, the issue is moisture. Even though the new design included a moisture barrier, whether it was not designed or whether it wasn't installed properly, moisture did creep up the walls and that type of thing. So that's where then it got moisture into the insulation, and then the glue. The roof system is glued into sections, or layers, I guess would be the better term, and that started to come apart. And so they redesigned the vapor barrier properly and to hopefully keep that from happening. And then also part of this was the insulation. The bid that is requesting your consideration. And Paul, you have to help me out on this one. Along the edge is the soffits. Yeah. The soffit wall, the metal that hangs down on the outside that you see, the maroon portion. There's currently insulation in there, but it's the fiberglass insulation, and that needs to be pulled out and a foam put in. And that's what this is. That's the additional cost. And then again, as I mentioned, also to review Peter Basso Associates, we've contracted with them. I believe they're going to come in this week and meet with next week. Okay, and meet with rec center staff to check out the mechanical systems and verify that they're working properly. If they're not, then they will give us alternatives to how to make them work properly. So there potentially may be additional costs from that analysis, the results of the analysis. But right now, it could be a lot worse. I mean, and as I say in my memo, it's not a budgeted item. We couldn't budget because we weren't sure how much was going to cost what. But again, the $20,680 for the new insulation. Am I forget anything, Paul?
I don't think so.
Okay. So that's what we're looking at and I will say it's not. We had a lot of the snow this winter, so the process hasn't moved as long as quite as fast as we'd like to, but we are at this position to move forward, and the roof does continue to get worse as the winds blow, and it looks kind of I think, as Paul said in the last meeting we had with the group, was sometimes it looks like a party tent up there because it blows up and moves across. So we want to get that repaired as soon as possible before we have a catastrophic failure.
Okay, discussion. Mr. Law.
Unfortunately, again, anyway, question. Mr. Campbell, how can we be assured that this is actually going to work, whereas before it didn't work?
And I'll ask Paul to help with that, but that's one of the things with RTA with their specifications. That's why they're, before they'll give us a 20-year lifetime warranty on this thing, that's why they want to go with the insulation, the new insulation. I'm missing, that was, and then also they wanted that's why we're doing the review of the mechanical systems too, to make sure that those are working properly, to make sure that the appropriate amount of moisture is getting out and not staying in. Is that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, none of us are happy that we have this problem. We've done what we thought was the most prudent course of action, which is to hire a consultant that specializes in roofs and envelopes. And then we've also hired Peter Basso, who specializes in mechanical systems, to try to evaluate any and all possible causes for the problem. So really, it's, as Mr. Campbell said, it's kind of a two-pronged attack. We're going to correct the deficiencies in the original roof, along with replacing the insulation. The current insulation is a bad insulation. The new insulation will be a closed-cell polyurethane type of insulation that will not retain any water. And then Peter Basso will evaluate the existing mechanical system to make sure that it's, one, was designed properly, and two, that it's operating properly. If both of those things are true and we replace the system and fix the deficiencies, there should be no reason at all why we would have any additional problems. So, again, we're not happy to have to come back here and explain what the problems are, but we do think this is a comprehensive solution. So,
Mr. Rhodes.
I have a few questions, many of which address the concern, I guess, with the mechanical processes of it, and I apologize for that because I didn't have time to come in and talk with everybody ahead of time like I normally do. But is all of this work going to be done on the exterior of the building?
most of it. We are going to be going into the pool itself and fixing where the concrete block walls come up and meet the roof. There is a gap there in some instances where we're going to fill that in with the same closed cell urethane foam as we're doing it behind the soffits, just to make sure that every last crack is sealed up airtight and watertight.
Is that the area that says spray 2 inches of closed cell form at the perimeter of the exterior wall?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
I wasn't sure how wide that was going to be. I'm assuming that you're spraying at the wall roof junction.
Correct.
And coming out partially onto the roof in order to prevent any migration through that joint?
Yeah, I don't have the, actually, I may have the detail if you wanted to review it, but it basically, there is a, there's block and then there's drywall that was used to seal that gap at the top. And there is, where the roof deck is fluted, there are some gaps in the flutes, so we're actually going to spray the flutes of the deck and completely seal that. So yeah, it will all be, it won't be visible from the outside, but from the inside you will see that the gap has been sealed.
And then you're going to fill the parapet walls, which is the section of wall that is above the roof typically?
Yeah, it's the
Building
siding
around
as
the
it comes
perimeter?
up, as the siding comes up and goes above the roof, yeah, that whole cavity will be filled with insulation.
And you know how deep that is or how high that parapet wall is?
It's not very high around the pool. It's probably less than 6 inches tall in most areas. The roof's pitched, so it varies a little bit, but.
Because I noticed in the specs, the application of this material was limited to a maximum of 2 inches at a time. And then it had to cool, and you come back and do it again.
Correct.
So that's.
So they'll be doing it in several lifts, so to speak.
Several lifts.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think probably the last question was, it says, install fiberglass board with vinyl covering where needed around perimeter of pool area. And I don't know if we're talking about the walls or the ceiling or both.
I don't recall that detail.
That's on the higher priced proposal from fiberglass. It's the last item listed under phase. I'm just trying to get a better understanding of what it is that's being done to fix this problem.
Right. Well, essentially, as I mentioned, we're sealing it from the inside, and then we're going outside. We're going up onto the roof and making sure that the vapor barrier is continuous, because it was not continuous in some places, as we discovered when we cut the roof open. And then from the outside, we're filling that cavity in with the spray foam.
And then there's some kind of a cap that goes over the parapet?
There's an aluminum brake metal cap that would go over that to completely flash that detail in, and then the new roofing will be brought up and flashed in as well. So.
Okay.
And we're actually hiring RTA not just to design the solution, but to actually go up on the roof and stand there and make sure that it gets installed exactly the way that they designed it. So that's kind of our fail-proof insurance on that.
And the warranty that we get with this work?
The existing roof has a 20-year warranty on it, which it'll still be maintained because the manufacturer of the roof will also be signing off on this work. And then I believe the new system that's being designed has its own separate warranty. I don't recall offhand exactly what that is. But as I mentioned, it is a closed cell system that does not absorb water. So that should be. I don't think I have the information on exactly what that warranty is. We would still have the balance of the 20-year roof warranty left, though.
I think that addresses the majority of my questions. Thank you.
Did you have any other questions, comments on this motion? Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to approve and authorize for this roof repair. Is there no further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11.111, MERS actuarial, is motion to acknowledge receipt of the July 8th, 2011 memo from City Manager Campbell. Request or not request a MERS supplemental evaluation or actuarial for retirees COLA for 2012, and that COLA for retirees be provided or not provided for 2012.
Move to not request and not provide.
Second.
Move Morrow, second Gearba. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under discussion items, commission committee reports from council members. Any reports? Mr. Law, there was a planning meeting. Did you want to?
I'm sorry?
Was there a planning meeting last week?
Yes, there was a planning, and it was the item that was discussed was the one about the special land use concerning the gentleman's company. And I did raise the issue about downtown and vacant space elsewhere, and noted that in the master plan, the new one, it does ask us to promote opportunities to have businesses, if they have and meet the criteria, to locate in industrial areas. So.
Are there any other commissioner committee reports? If not, any reports or other announcements? Mr. Rhodes.
Couple things, quick things. One is I passed out the Saline Leadership Institute SWOTs, the Strengths, Weakness, Opportunities, and Threats. That happens every year from when the new class starts up. And so that's out to the group. The other thing that I wanted to make comment on, as you all know, I've been an advocate of complete streets and making our city more walkable and more pedestrian friendly. And I was really disappointed in this last Planning Commission meeting, I guess, where we were, again, not able to secure a commitment from ACH to put a sidewalk in front of their facility. And I think we need to take a very firm position with them. I noticed in the minutes it said they don't plan to. Well, I think we need to do something to make them plan to do that. And it's the biggest facility that we have in our town, and they're kind of thumbing their nose at us, in my opinion. We've been talking about a sidewalk along that place ever since I've been on city council, and it's time to do something. I don't know what that something is, but we need to do it.
Well, in light of the fact, I agree with you. I'm also a big advocate, but the landscaping there has been a problem for almost 2 years now, and also we are in, what's the word? Negotiating taxable value right now at pretty significant values, and I don't really think that now is the best time. I think when we get through that, they certainly know, every time we sit down and talk to them, they know that this is a priority number one for us. But we don't have much leverage right now, and I think right now, I mean, it's significant dollars, the valuation. I mean, we're talking a couple $100,000. So we want to, play well for the time, for now. And it's a difficult situation, and, I had actually been sort of nagging Todd about the landscaping for the last year. So I was delighted that they are actually doing something with that, because it really looks horrible. Speaking of which, is Gary still here?
No, he just walked down.
Do we know the time frame for implementing that? Have you heard anything? Because I don't see any activity for the landscaping piece.
I don't know the exact timeline, but I can
Could
certainly
you follow
find
up
it.
with Gary and find out?
Absolutely.
Because it's probably not the best time anyhow, because of the heat would kill anything, but I think it would be great to actually know when they're planning. So that was really, we're sort of semi-tied, our hands are tied a little bit, but it is a priority. Mr. Rubel recognizes a priority, Mr. Campbell recognizes a priority. So we'll work through it. So I appreciate your comments, and we will continue. I know Mr. CO commented also at the Planning Commission meeting. I don't know if Mr. Law made any comments, but it definitely is a priority. And for the time being, basically it's a desire path. So there's, pavement to the Wrenchler Farm, and then there's sidewalk, and that's sometimes the best we can do for the time being. But your comments are noted, and we will continue to work on that.
And I understand your position, but personally, I don't think that ACH is going to back off at all on their request for tax relief if we don't ask them to put in the sidewalk. So, okay.
Do you have other reports or announcements?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor, I just would like to tag on to Mr. Rhodes' comment, because I agree with that. For the last 20 years, we've been kind of making that statement and always been concerned about them pulling out or being concerned. And at this point, I think it's time for them to give a little payback to the community, because this community's given them a significant payback. And I'm appreciative of them being here and providing, but they need to also pull their weight.
Okay, that's noted. We have the Weber Bless handout. I think they're looking for some participants in the ice cream social. We won the croquet championship last year, so actually that was 2 years ago, so we have some standards to uphold, and I don't know if we want to designate a team leader. Mr. Marl is raising his hand. You're going to be our team leader?
Well, I can speak to this as vice chair of the Saline Area Schools Historic Foundation, which oversees and administers activities at the Weber Bliss School. Behind the email, or enclosed within this packet, you'll find a synopsis of the event, and then a flyer, kind of a press release. And at the bottom of the flyer, you'll notice a picture of myself, Mr. Rhodes, and one of our Saline Area School employees, Principal Wes Sharon, participating in the Croquet Challenge 2 years ago. As the mayor indicated, we did win that, and the committee is looking for 4 people from City Council to compete with school staff, and the Croquet tournament has been designated to begin at 2:15. So first of all, regardless of whether you're going to be participating in the croquet tournament or croquet challenge or not, it's a great event. It supports, the funds support that schoolhouse. And as many of you know, every 3rd and 4th grade class in Saline Area Schools visits the Weber Bliss Schoolhouse. It's important to remember our past. The kids really enjoy it. They derive a significant amount of joy and satisfaction in coming and attending. And this is one of our big annual fundraisers, and it's open to the public, the community, so we hope that you'll come. It's on August 21st from 1 to 4 at the Weber Bliss Schoolhouse there on Woodland Drive.
And the bar is being raised. I see they also want some council members to spit watermelon seed.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't get to that, but in addition to...
Would you be willing to coordinate and recruit a team?
I certainly would be. I can participate in both. However, if there are other members who would
Okay.
like to do that, I would...
Any council members that are interested in participating, please work through Mr. Marl.
Yep.
Sounds like really fun. I think we participated last time, and it was a lot of fun. And
Yep, it's a nice event.
Great afternoon. Okay, and Mr. Fordyce is not here. Mr. Campbell, you want to talk about the email from Mr. Fordyce?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to pass this along. It is posted on our website, but we were just informed there's a new herbicide out there, and I want to stress may cause because they're undergoing investigations themselves, but I believe it's put out by a subsidiary of DuPont, but regardless, and there's a website in here, in this posting that's on the website that you can go to, that the MSU extension has put out. But essentially, it's a lawn weed control herbicide that apparently leaches in the soil and is taken up by nearby trees. It's still legal for use as labeled, as far as we can tell, but there are apparently reports nationwide of damage to trees, and we do have some city trees that we believe have been harmed. But it's still not been pulled, has not been pulled from the market, but we're going to, it says, the posting says herbicide may be damaging trees. So there are several reports, this is what it states in the posting, there are several reports of a lawn herbicide Imprellis damaging trees. It appears that some private lawn applications of Imprellis have damaged city street trees as well as trees on private property. Please read information from the MSU Extension Service at, and we just advise that for those using this to discuss all herbicide applications with your lawn care or landscape contractor before you.
Can we also talk to the local stores that sell it, at least in the city limits, and ask them to consider not selling it? Can we do that?
I don't know if that's a question.
Damaging trees?
Well, I guess I would ask, if we can do that, I would ask a question of Alan.
If you do a study, it doesn't have to be an elaborate study, but if you do an examination first and conclude that there is danger to the trees, I don't see anything wrong with making it public.
At least we could ask them to put notice on there
Yeah.
that there has been documentation and refer to the website. I mean, we could ask them. They
Sure.
can certainly say, no, we're not going to do that.
Right.
But we
Well-
could ask them to at least put some kind of notice if they're going to continue to have it on the shelf, that there is documentation out there that this causes damage to
Sure.
our
We
trees.
can certainly ask them to do that. When you say study, I mean, we don't have any certified folks to do this analysis. I mean, we believe, we can connect the dots, if you will, right, that we believe that this is affecting our trees, but...
Refer to the MSU
Sure.
extension study.
Sure.
That would be, right? And it wouldn't be like, I mean, we can't do any kind of...
Well, it's not conclusive. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a recommendation.
I believe there's
Look at it. So maybe one of our staff, somebody, maybe Jeff or somebody from DPW could go to the stores that are selling it and just talk to them a little bit. They
Sure.
probably already know about it.
Sure. I believe there's a class action complaint out there.
Okay. Mr. Gearrod, did you have a comment?
I was just going to say, I think most of it's commercial application that's been bigger area, so it may be more the
Talk to the
wholesalers.
landscapers.
And the landscapers are the ones that are facing this problem. Those are the ones we probably want to notify.
Okay, well, maybe if,
Yeah, we'll look at it.
showing on the website is a minimum, that's
Right,
at least
right.
at a minimum.
No, we'll talk to folks.
Okay.
Mayor, if I could,
Mr. Law?
if there's any question, why don't we just not use it at all? Then, Mr. Campbell, err on the side of caution.
We're not using it.
We're not using it.
Oh, I'm sorry, then, never mind.
Yeah, people are having it used on their lawns, and it's getting down
I
into the
see.
roots.
Okay.
So anyhow, we'll continue, try to get as
I got
much
you.
publicity out
Okay.
there that it's dangerous, and then maybe, we do have some landscape services in town that maybe we could also do some kind of outreach. But they probably know about it, I would imagine at this point. Is there any other discussion items? Public comment on the Open Meetings Act. Any citizen may come forward at this time, make comment or question to City Council. This public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone who'd like to speak is requested but not required to state his or her name and address for the record. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the City Council?
Still Mary Hess. For the last year and a half, I think I've come up for Brook and Sidewalk. Talked to myself 3 minutes at the beginning, whatever the end, and that was one thing. But the Saline dispatchers is a whole different issue. It doesn't have a year and a half. And I would ask that each one of you council members address this on what your feelings are and whether there is going to be some public forums soon. Spitting watermelons, I know, seeds is fun. This is not fun issue, but it's a serious issue. And to not even address it, I can understand public comment, but at this one, I don't think it's fair to stand here and ask a request and have it not even acknowledged. Thank you.
Is there further public comment? As I stated at the last meeting a week ago, Mrs. Hess, we will have a public session when we have the information to have a session about. At this point, we're still doing information gathering. So, and I said that a week ago, and I don't really see when we're ready to have information to share with the public, and we've learned what the pros and cons are, which is what we're trying to do. We're gathering facts right now. So, if there's no other public comment, is there any other business to come before the Saline City Council? We have meetings on August 1st, August 15th, and August 12th, all starting currently at 7:30. There may be a work session that may come up, but at this point in time, we don't have anything on the table. So do we have a motion to adjourn at 8:15?
Move.
Second?
Move Merle, second Terhar. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Might have been your Bob, but that's